What's going on, everybody? It's your boy DrewSpacely here again to talk to you guys about Lords of the Fallen and Lies of P. Two totally different Souls-like games made during the year 2023. A year jam-packed with AAA games. Quality AAA games. But which one had the better combat system? Which one was more fun? And which one did I personally enjoy more? Let's find out. But first and foremost, if you've been watching my content for a little bit, please consider subscribing. I post content weekly, and you don't want to miss a thing. Thanks. It seems like we waited entirely too long to start getting great Souls-like games in the gaming industry. And let me tell you guys, they did not disappoint. Today, I'm going to talk about both these games, and which one is ultimately my favorite Souls-like game not created by From Software. I'm going to rank these games based off bosses, graphics, art direction, combat, fun factor, weapons, armor, world building, and last but not least, the story. And at the end, I will give each game a point in each bracket to eventually see which one gets the top spot by the end. Bosses. +1. Lords of the Fallen. To start us off, I'm going to go over what we all come to Souls-like games for, and that's the bosses. Obviously, difficulty, boss design, and character responsiveness plays a big part in all that. Although I love Lies of P's bosses, ultimately, I think Lords of the Fallen has the better boss fights. Each boss in Lords of the Fallen feels like an event, and feels tough but fair. Something in Lies of P that I think was greatly missed by NeoWiz is the fact that boss balance wasn't finally tuned in New Game Plus, and for all weapons within the game. Attacking then immediately blocking with certain weapons just does not work within Lies of P. Especially with bosses who have such fast attack patterns, it makes moments to punish incredibly few and far between. Lords of the Fallen bosses have great iframes, and aren't as relentless as the bosses in Lies of P, and personally, I'm a great fan of the overall boss design within Lords of the Fallen. To me, their take on dark fantasy is just more up my alley, compared to a dark take on puppets. My only major complaint with Lords of the Fallen's bosses, and yes, it is major, is that some could be a little bit harder, and be less gimmick heavy, but ultimately, they are a great time. Graphics. +1. Lies of P. It's no secret when Lies of P dropped, it had a buttery smooth frame rate and overall performance. The same cannot be said for Lords of the Fallen. Upon launch, Lords of the Fallen was met with lots of criticisms from the community for its overall lack of performance and frame rate dips. In Souls-likes, a smooth frame rate and great performance is the most important aspect, outside of art direction. Ultimately, Lords of the Fallen got a patch and performance was improved, but it wasn't quite enough. I still get some stutter while playing, and I find it incredibly distracting. Lies of P, on the other hand, is a masterclass in graphics, and setting a standard with their performance out the gate. Art direction. +1. Lords of the Fallen. Now, performance aside, in my opinion, art direction has to go to Lords of the Fallen. CI Games has created some of the most beautiful backdrop scenery I've seen in a game since the release of Elden Ring and God of War Ragnarok in 2022. Their take on dark fantasy is just simply my favorite, and it's the closest we'll get to an actual Dark Souls clone, outside of From Software. Lies of P, while sporting outstanding graphics, has a great backdrop scenery, and both games have good boss design. But Lords of the Fallen understands the assignment better in this regard. Its overall game feeling just gives me nostalgia from some of the greats in the Soulsborne series, and boss and enemy designs are just something I favor more in Lords of the Fallen. Combat. +1. Lies of P. Now, I've gone on record stating how I have problems with aspects of Lies of P's combat, but if you love something, then you should be able to critique it. Thank you, Dreamcast guy. I took that from you. Outside of my complaints, I can respect what Lies of P has accomplished with their combat system. Taking the block and deflect mechanic from Sekiro, and mixing it with the rally mechanic from Bloodborne, all while creating their own spin on everything. Lies of P gets this point because it's tried something different, and succeeded with confidence. Lords of the Fallen also has combat I'm a fan of, but it's been done before, countless times. Its only thing that sets it apart is that outside of the Estus Flask, you'll get an extra heal from dying and being thrown into Umbral. Now that might be great for exploration, but not enough to make the combat interesting. Also, in Lords of the Fallen, enemies practically have infinite aggro, and I think that's a huge mistake. Far too many enemies on the screen at one time, and ranged enemies have no damage falloff, and can hit you from insane ranges. Yes, I'm looking at you, Paladin's Burden. Fun factor. +1. Lords of the Fallen. Now, when it comes to replay value, I can see myself replaying Lords of the Fallen far more than Lies of P. Combat is tough, but fair, and I'm a huge fan of the iframes in this game. At times, it does make things a tad too easy, but it's something that sets itself further apart from the Souls series. Liza P at the beginning of the game hardly even has any dodge, and leans too heavily into making P a tank for blocking. I'm more of a fan of fast, responsive combat, and I just think bosses and enemies are more fun to fight in Lords of the Fallen than in Liza P. Weapons. +1. Liza P. Although I enjoy weapons in both of these games, I think Liza P is the easy winner here. They've not only created their own weapon system in this game, but they've added something special to the community that I hope to see more of in games down the line. The ability to mix and match blades and handles not only changes how the weapons are swung, but also what special ability that weapon is capable of using. Lords of the Fallen, on the other hand, while I think they have great weapon designs and a lot to choose from, like, no joke, there's like 100 weapons in this game. I think they could have expanded on movesets, and they're totally missing something in the form of weapon arts. Without weapon arts, the game feels bare bones in the weapons department, unless you totally change what weapon you're using entirely. And if you do choose a different weapon in the same slot, it's solely for the purpose of cosmetics and elemental damage, but never how it plays. And for me, that just doesn't cut it. Armor. +1. Lords of the Fallen. On the other hand, character customization and armor design in Lords of the Fallen is really top of the line for Souls-likes outside of From Software. CI Games did their homework and really chose to be best dressed in this department. You can choose from any 4 different armor pieces, all with stat bonuses and weight requirements. And depending how heavy your character is, it'll make your character slower and dodge will suffer. Liza P has a similar system, but its weight requirements are only related to its mechanical arms, amulets, and weapons. Armor in that game is practically non-existent, and all very similar, but with different shaders practically. Plus, you can only choose from a headpiece and a body piece, and that's not great for customization. I say all this while adding Lords of the Fallen also does something completely new for the Souls-like genre in the form of trinkets, which are essentially shaders for your armor. Like, honestly, why did it take so long for us to get shaders? Also, Lords of the Fallen lets you choose your class before the game starts. Likewise in Liza P, you play as P. Period. World building. +1. Lords of the Fallen. Now, that feeling of an interconnected, living, breathing world is something that Lords of the Fallen really struck the landing on. This game is massive, and has multiple paths and bosses you can fight at any moment. Once you reach about halfway through the game, it really opens up, and it gave me that fantastic, overwhelming feeling I love from these kinds of games. Liza P, on the other hand, although it has a beautiful world and a lot to offer in that department, I felt like it had less memorable areas and was just far too linear for me. It's just a constant race from boss to boss and you attack them in alphabetical order, for lack of a better phrase. In Lords of the Fallen, everything's up to choice. Whether that's cleansing beacons, NPC quest lines, fighting bosses, or just flat out exploring. Liza P also lays all their quests out on a silver platter for you to accomplish on your first playthrough, with little room to make mistakes besides 1 to 2 instances. For me, breaking that fourth wall and forcing me onto the internet is something I love in Souls games, and the world building really suffers without that feeling of the unknown. Story. +1. Liza P. Now this one was very close for me. I love the aspect in Lords of the Fallen where vestiges are just previously fallen lamp bearers. To me, that's a really cool lore perspective, and there's multiple things I really love about Lords of the Fallen story and its lore, but in my opinion, it was just overall easier to understand Liza P's story on the first go around. Plus NPC storylines are easier to follow, so I ended up playing in the game's advantage. Liza P can be a bit hand-holding at times, but that's why the story overall shines. The mystery behind who started the frenzy and their motivations by the end is a great payout. Plus I really think some of the NPCs have really interesting storylines that outshine any within Lords of the Fallen, such as Alidoro, Benini, and Arcanino. Cut me some slack, I tried my best to pronounce those. Overall, I have to give it to Lords of the Fallen. They lean heavily into already treaded waters, but at the same time that's why I love it. Starting the game with different characters already gives it more replayability for me, and the amount of choices you make throughout the game is just more up my alley. I love the overall art direction and game feel. Now Lords of the Fallen might not have the best multiplayer experience for these games, but at least it is present, and that's something I love. It's weird to me that Liza P has NPC summons, but the developers never took time to add actual players. Hopefully that's something we'll see in the next one. Also, New Game Plus has some issues for me in both these games, considering it takes away vestiges in Lords of the Fallen, and we're restricted to only using Cs, which isn't fantastic. And Liza P just doesn't have great damage balance. Liza P is a close second, but when it comes to which game is my favorite Souls-like game, not created by From Software, it does not take home that trophy. That one goes to Lords of the Fallen. Overall, I would love to see both these games get a sequel. To me, they have a lot to offer to the Souls community at large, and it would make me a very happy player. Alright, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Probably not the solution you guys were expecting today, right? But let me tell you, Lords of the Fallen has a lot to offer. I know YouTube fucking hates this game right now, but promise me, if you guys are a Souls fan, check it out. They will eventually fix performance issues. It is a lot of fun. It has a lot to offer. There's a lot of gank involved in this game. It's going to fucking piss you off. But if you trust me with anything, if you love these games, you will have fun with this game. I truly believe that in my heart. Now let me know in the comments section what you guys think about this. Which points do you guys think each game should have had? Do you guys agree with my takes? Do you think I'm an idiot? Let me know all of it, please. Now remember to like, comment, subscribe. Do anything you guys can to help me. I'm just one guy and I make these videos because this is my passion. So thank you guys very much. This has been DrewSpacely. Peace. Oh yeah, don't mind me. I'm just gonna stand here and wait to, fight the boss for every 3 minutes every time I die. Yeah. What an awesome, good, intricate boss design. So much fun. Yeah, this boss fucking sucks.